Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Soaplore. I'm your host, Jed, still viewing and reviewing the soapiest, suddiest primetime storylines of 1982. So whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell the kids it's time to play outside or out of sight. No questions, suggestions, or concerns for the next 45 minutes. Everyone else in earshot, you can be cool, you can be quiet, or you will be kicked out. Because we are watching our stories. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Soaplore. Hello, gorgeous. Welcome back to another fun-filled edition of Soaplore. Oh my gosh, y'all. You already know what's up. Season 3. Episode 21 is one of the most interesting episodes of any show I've ever watched. If that sounds dramatic, I mean, yeah, it is, but it doesn't make it any less true. I watched this, and I promise you, the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm kind of talking back to the TV, just enjoying myself. I'm shocked. I'm sort of taking in all this new information. But at some point in the show, it became so real, so raw. I didn't even realize I hadn't moved until I saw the credits roll. I think I was damn near holding my breath the whole time. This episode is so intense. It is so in your face. I promise you we're going to dive deep into this one. So go ahead and pour yourself up something bubbly and bright. Maybe you want something a little more calm, maybe some calming tea. Maybe a little brandy. I don't know. Do whatever you need to do to get comfortable because we are jumping into Season 3, Episode 21 of Knots Landing, China Dolls. Did you ever have one of those porcelain dolls? I feel like I've had them in the house, but obviously you can't play with those. They're much too fragile. Seems like the 90s had this weird resurgence of collecting those. Not really my cup of tea. My jam was obviously watching TV and reading these books from this series called You Can Read. I'm sure my mom saw a commercial or saw it in a magazine at some point and decided to order this reading system for me and my little brother. It wasn't like Hooked on Phonics as far as I know, but we had these books that I just adored. And if memory serves me correctly, you'd get a videotape and it'd go through all these beautiful stories and different things. And then you'd also get a few books that would accompany this particular tape. It either came like that or it came in a series. Doesn't really matter. The point I'm trying to make is that I was able to read fairy tales and fables that I wouldn't have been introduced to otherwise. After I watched this episode, I can't even really describe it. I don't know why I felt weird or just I couldn't really process my thoughts in real time. So I was just kind of sitting here like, wow, that really just happened. Wow. What's next? And eventually it sort of reminded me of this story called The Cat and Mouse Partnership. So there's this cat and there's this mouse. They meet each other and much to both of their surprises, they hit it off. The cat says to the mouse, I've never met a mouse I like so much. You are so wonderful. You're so charming. I really enjoy you. The mouse says, I was really nervous about meeting you, but I feel the same way. You're so cool. Never met a cat as cool as you. The cat says, yeah, I think we could really be friends. I think we'd be great friends. I just love and adore you so much. This is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. I am embellishing slightly. The mouse says, well, I feel the same way. Why don't you live in this house with me? Would you be willing to move in with me? And the cat's like, absolutely. I'll live with you in this house. Totally. So they move in together. Things are going well. But the mouse is forward thinking. So the mouse goes to the cat and she says, hey, you're like a predator. You need to hunt. I'm a mouse. I'm a gatherer. We need to consider what we're going to do when I can't gather and you can't hunt, especially in the winter. Why don't we store up some food for ourselves for the winter? And then when it comes, we can just chill and enjoy that season. The cat's like, I mean, it's spring. Why are we talking about winter already? The mouse is like, I mean, it's just important. You need to look forward to the future. We need to secure something. Since this is a cross species home, they obviously have to have something mutually beneficial. I mean, the cat can't very well go out, bring home dead mice, now can he? They settle on this pot of fat. So they obtain this pot of fat and they bring it back home. Quickly, the mouse realizes we can't keep this here. This is distracting. This is too big. What are we going to do? Where are we going to keep it? So they're thinking, and the cat says, "Hey, I know. Why don't we keep it at the church? Nobody is going to go in a church and steal anything. It'll be completely safe. It'll be out of sight. We'll just go down and get it late fall, and everything will be great." The mouse kind of thinks about this, and she's like, "Yeah, I think you're right." Cat says, "We can slip under the door, go underneath the altar, hide it underneath the floor. It'll be safe and sound." Mouse agrees, and they do that very thing. So as time goes on, they're living together in just interspecies bliss. And one day the cat comes scurrying into the room. "I have the best news in the whole world. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm going to be a godfather." And the mouse is like, "That's amazing. You're going to be a godfather. That's wonderful." Yeah, my cousin just had a baby boy kitten and he's got this white coat. They saw the white coat. It reminded them of me. And they asked me to be the godfather. "You don't mind if I go to the baptism, do you?" She's like, "Of course not. Go to the baptism. God, eat at the buffet, enjoy the food, tell everybody I said hi, and have a little communion wine for me if you can." Cat's like, "No doubt, no doubt. Appreciate it. Go ahead and take care of the house. I'll be home after a little while." The cat leaves the house, only he's not going to the baptism because there isn't a baptism. There's also no baby kitten, and there's also no cousin. He don't even have relatives like that. What he wants is to have a little taste of this vat of fat they have sitting down there. It's probably all warm in the spring. It's probably really rich and delicious. So he goes down. He sneaks under the church door, under the altar, removes a floorboard, goes underneath. Vat of fat is just jiggling and looking all delicious. He takes one bite, rich and creamy and salty. Side note quickly, in my mind, it's more of a butter than like the gelatinous fat, but I digress. He takes one bite after another, one lap of his tongue after another. Before you know it, the top of the vat of fat is completely gone. So, he feels a little weird after that. So he starts walking around town. He hops on the roof. He sort of takes his time. He sunbathes. He does all these things. Comes back home. And the little mouse is like, "Oh my gosh, how was the baptism?" The cat says it was great. Mouse says, "Well, what did they name the baby?" "Top Off." She's like, "Top Off? God, that's okay. Never heard a name like that. I don't think I've even read anything like that. Top Off. Is that like a family name?" The cat is suddenly offended by this. And he's like, it's no worse than being called a crumb snatcher like your little god kids are. So she's like, "Okay, chill. I didn't mean to offend you. I've never heard the name. That's all I'm saying. It's a very unique name. God bless little Top Off." So a little bit of time goes by. Cat comes to the mouse again and he says, "You're not going to believe this. I'm going to be a godfather again." She's like, "No way." Yeah. Some friends of mine had a little kitten and it's got this bright white ring around its neck, reminded them of me. So they called me up, asked me to be the godfather. You don't mind if I go to the baptism, do you?" She's like, "No, of course not. Enjoy yourself. Tell everybody I said hi." So he leaves the house, goes down to the church, slips under the door, under the altar, under the floorboard, and he starts lapping up more of that gooey, buttery, rich, salty goodness. He kind of gets lost in it. And before you know it, the complete middle of the pot is just licked clean. He's like, "Oh my gosh, there's only a third of this left. Oops." He's like, "You know what? Some things just taste better when you don't have to share them with other people." Had to do it. So he goes home and the mouse is like, "Hey, how did it go?" "Oh, it went great." "What did they name the kitten?" "Oh, they named him Half Gone." "Half Gone? Where are they? Are these people the Migos? Like, where are they getting all these names from? Are they forming a rap group we don't know about?" And he's like, it's just a name. You're sitting here in this house all day. You're not used to the world outside of these walls. That's a perfectly normal name for creatures of the day. You're nocturnal. You wouldn't know nothing about that." And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. So before you know it, every time the cat licks his whiskers, he can almost taste that savory, buttery goodness. Goes to the mouse and he goes, dude, good things must come in three because I'm going to be a godfather again. And the mouse is, oh? Cat tells her, this time my friend had a little kitten that is completely jet black, just gorgeous, silky black fur, except for his paws. All four paws are stark white. They saw the paws, it reminded them of me. They asked me to be the godfather. You don't mind, do you? Sure. Go have a good time. So he leaves the house, goes to the church, slips under the door, slips under the altar, under the floorboard, and he leisurely eats away at the last bit of the fat, licks the pot completely clean. By this time, he's gained significant amount of weight. He is a little more casual in his waltz. He takes a little bit longer to get home. And he just kind of rubs his stomach and says, I'm at peace now. There's no more fat to eat up. There's nothing left to think about. Probably best case scenario. So he comes into the house and the mouse looks at him and she's like, well, we had top off, we had half gone. What did they name this one? Cat looks at her and says, all gone. All gone, she says. These are strange names, but oh well. She washes her face or whatever mice do, curls up on a ball, goes to sleep. They make it through the rest of the spring, the rest of the summer, and the fall without incident. When the first snow falls, the mouse goes to the cat and says, let's go to the church and get our pot of fat. Oh, it's going to be so good. It's had all this time to marinate and mature. And the cat says, yes, yes, your tiny little tongue will love it as much as you like licking the air outside your window. So they both leave the house, go to the church, scurry under the door, scurry underneath the altar, underneath the floorboards, where the mouse, for the first time, lays eyes on the giant pot of fat, only it's been emptied of its contents. She stares at it in disbelief, but then she turns to the cat and says, oh my gosh, I understand now. I know what happened. You were such a good friend. And the cat says, I am. Yes, you're such a good friend. I know what happened now. You had to use the vat of fat to feed the other cats at all the baptisms. What a wonderful friend. You had to do it for top off. You had to do it for half gone. And then you had to do it for. She gets as far as the A and all gone when all of a sudden it's like a switch flipped. He goes from cool, calm to just ferocious. If you say another word, I'm going to eat you too. Unfortunately, she was already talking, so she's like, oh, before you know it, chomp, eats her. At the top of the show, Laura, gosh, she's just sort of in an impossible situation. Karen says to her, in not so many words, you need to go and check up on him. He mentioned that you hadn't been to see him. This is true. Karen had gone to see Richard earlier, and she and he were going to have a breakfast picnic, and his little peculiar friend comes up and he's talking about an explosion where three little girls died, except he refers to them as China dolls. Based on the year that this would have aired, at first I thought maybe this guy was a Vietnam vet, and this was sort of a subtle reminder to check in on your veterans and that sort of thing. But the guy looked a little too young to have served in Vietnam, so I started thinking a little more. This would have been around the time of Reaganomics, when all of the mental institutions were sort of shut down. Yeah. So maybe this was a subtle little reminder that, hey, some people really do need the help. Richard's explaining to Karen that he feels good. This is a really nice place. It's really beautiful. She's concerned about the insurance. He says, well, it'll pay up until like next week. And then I got to figure out something else, which brings us back to Laura. Karen says, I just want to see you participate a little more. Laura says, do you forget that this man pulled a whole weapon on me? Did you forget that? Karen's defensive of Richard. He was having a mental breakdown, Laura. Laura's like, cool, okay, cool. Explain that to his son. Karen kind of takes a step back, like, no, you're right, you're right. I'm not going to get into how upsetting this is, but it's like in any other circumstance, would you ask a pregnant woman to go and visit the person who held her hostage? Husband or not, friend or not, you probably wouldn't do that. You need to see significant changes before you said that. Can't just go off of his emotions because there's two parties involved. By the end of this, Laura is at least curious, so she does indeed go to visit Richard. I gotta say, Richard took me completely by surprise. He's still very tranquil. He's as surprised as I am to see Laura show up. What he tells her isn't that he misses her and that he's changed and that things are going to be totally different. But what he says instead is, Laura, I have to take responsibility for myself. For years, I thought you were the weak one. Your weakness made me feel powerful. Only when you left, I realized it was the other way around. I'm far too codependent on you. And I want to have a life with you, even if it means we're not together, if it means we're in separate households. Want to raise our kids together, but I want, and I need to live alone. Color me totally surprised. There's also a brief conversation on why he's going to be leaving. So apparently he's going to be off his medication in about a week, and he's also going to be leaving. So Laura asks him why. Why so soon? He goes, well, money's a big motivator. Basically, my insurance isn't going to pay after that, so I'm going to need to skedaddle. She's like, don't even worry about that. I can pay. I can help pay for whatever you need. I don't want you to help pay for anything, Laura. I need to be alone. Wow. Talk about personal growth. Well, Dr. McQuarrie, his psychologist, has been helping him with that. He tells Laura you could even talk to her if you want at these prices. So they maximize his insurance, and Laura does pay Dr. McQuarrie a visit, who is this kind of very put together older woman. She reminds me of, if you've ever seen the movie A League of Their Own, when they all go to charm school, like one of the leaders of the charm schools, who she reminds me of, except she's a lot more nice. Laura pours out her heart. She is angry. She is confused. She doesn't understand why he is being let out so early. The doctor tells her he's not being let out. He's choosing to leave. Laura's like, well, I don't love him. I don't want to go back. The doctor says, who said you had to go back? What do you think I should? The doctor says, listen, I don't think you should do anything you don't want to do. These are all Richard's choices at this point. He's the one who needs to be making the decisions for himself. It's very clear at this point that Laura is concerned about his mental health. It's almost as if she feels because he's making the effort that he didn't make before, now she has to make the effort. That's what I'm interpreting this as, which is a very rough place. And she's like, I'm angry. I'm confused. I broke off everything. It was clean. And now this has happened. And I realized for the first time that she had thought about this long and hard. She had a plan. She made a decision to leave, to separate herself from him completely. No love lost. This is what I want. We'll raise our kids together. But him becoming mentally ill or having a nervous breakdown changes the whole trajectory of the plan she had. Yes, you expected Richard to maybe act up a little. Maybe she thought he would be difficult as far as letting her go. But this is a whole nother piece of a puzzle she never saw coming. So she's in a position to have to consider things that she didn't think she would. As she leaves the office of the doctor, his peculiar friend is in the hallway. He knows that she's Richard's wife, and he's like, hey, I know Richard's about to leave. Would you please give him this gift for me? I don't think I'll run into him again before he leaves. She's like, sure thing. Later on in the episode, we see her going to Richard's house. So this would have been the night right before he's supposed to return the following day. So she wants to go over and make sure, turn the air conditioner on, put some food in the fridge, make it feel like home. Give him a good head start. He doesn't need to come home and have to start figuring out all these things. Or he could. We'll have to see how that turns out. See if he appreciates that or if it's a hindrance of some sort. But she goes into the house, and I guess Karen hears her car door, or she was staring out of the window. I don't know if the walls in Knots Landing are very thin, because this entire episode is people showing up just as there are other people getting out of the car. You can tell that Laura isn't quite comfortable. She's sort of frantically moving around and she sets the doll down, or excuse me, she sets the package that Nicholas, the peculiar friend, gave Richard. She sets it down a little too hard and she feels it sort of shift in its packaging. She opens it up and realizes it's a porcelain doll and the leg is broken. She's, oh my God, I gotta fix this, gotta fix this. She's sort of frantically looking for glue. Karen senses that she's on edge and she's like, it's okay, it's not that important. Laura turns to her and said, damn it, Karen, I wish I had never listened to you. Show up for him, participate, do something. She explains what happened. She's like, I should have got up and left. I shouldn't have talked to his doctor. I should have just got out of there when I had the chance. Karen said, well, what did the doctor say? Doctor says I shouldn't return unless I'm returning for good. She looks absolutely destroyed and she's just like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Oh, I get that. I really do. And I wish she had just stayed away too. I mean, I don't want to blame Karen, but I do want to blame Karen. Like everybody makes mistakes. Just because Richard is, I know he's in a tender position. I can understand seeing him in the flesh. You can't help but feel bad for the guy. But also, please put your other friend first, her safety, her mentality. Oh gosh, especially knowing what their relationship was. You need to be championing your girl to have a little bit of space. Give it a little bit of time, and then when the time is right, when she's had a time moment to really see a change and she feels comfortable, if she ever does, then encourage her. But encourage her on her own accord. Don't encourage her because you feel bad for Richard. That's all I got to say about that. Poor Laura. This is a fascinating episode. One of the most fascinating parts for me is Joe. I've always liked Joe. I'm glad he's on the show. Joe is incredibly cool. But Joe has a couple of problems. Number one, he has a party to attend to for work. It is an all staff party at the college, which doesn't really sound like a problem, and it wouldn't be if Joe's boss, who is a woman, wasn't hitting on him disrespectfully. She's all up on him. She wants his body, and Joe, being a gentleman, doesn't want to hurt her feelings, doesn't want to jeopardize his job. So he has asked his girl from back east, I think her name was Lorraine, to fly in to attend the party, probably hang out this weekend. Joe's second problem is that whatever car he has been using needs some sort of maintenance. That's not really a problem considering his sister owns a car dealership. Does these two problems on this particular day that put Joe in the perfect position to be some sort of wise elder on this show. So Joe's chilling at breakfast at Karen's house. He's looking over some sort of baseball stats. I still think Joe might have a gambling problem. If he has a gambling addiction, even if it's not really a problem yet. Phone rings. It's Lorraine from back east. Gets on the phone with her. Apparently, Lorraine had something come up. You know, New York ain't exactly just around the corner. She can't hop on a plane and be there in time to attend his meeting on Friday. No big deal. Luckily, Joe is a charming, good looking young guy. There's plenty of women in the neighborhood. He'll just ask somebody else. As luck would have it, as he is driving to Knots Landing Motors to check on his car, he happens upon Ginger. Now, it is raining in SoCal. Ginger is fully decked out, and I kind of chuckle to myself. Anyone who lives in the desert, you're going to understand what I mean. When it gets even a little bit cold, you immediately pull out your warm clothes. Like you don't get to wear this stuff often. You don't get to wear rain boots and a slicker and all that often. So I just kind of chuckled at Ginger in her little rain slicker hat and all that inside her car. But she and Joe are talking through their car windows, and he's asking her if she has any single friends. And she goes, most of my friends are married. I do have one, but she kind of dingy. And he's like, dang, I like smart girls, but okay, just keep an eye out. If you think anybody, let me know. She's like, all right, bet. So Joe drives to Knots Landing Motors where he is chilling, waiting for his car. Only his car still needs some repairs, but he finds himself just sort of hanging out regardless. Now, why would Joe be hanging out? Well, he's waiting on Abby to come in so he can ask her. That was one of Ginger's suggestions. She's like, hey, Abby's smart. Why don't you ask Abby? He's like, that's a good idea. Now, I know what you're asking yourself if you haven't seen this in a long time, or if you're a newbie and for some reason you didn't watch it this week. Let me let you know. You're probably thinking, now, Jet, why wouldn't he just go over to Abby's house that morning? Well, Abby wasn't home. Okay, so he's just going to wait for her to come to work? Yeah, he's going to wait for her to come to work. Now, why wasn't Abby home first thing this morning? Well, because she's in an apartment waiting on Gary. Abby and Gary, or the methanol twins as she named them, are taking care of business. They have lots of business meetings. And this particular breakfast meeting calls for all hands on deck, calls for them to roll out a couch bed and do the nasty first thing in the morning before they go to work. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to tell you that the rage that went through my body when I realized what was going on, I can't even put into words. It's the audacity for me. The practical part of me is like, okay, it's not like they could do it at their house, but also, wow, you are so committed to this that you would seek out an apartment. Now, I'm thinking they put money down and rented an apartment. Apparently, it's one of Abby's homegirls' apartment. Fun fact, this is the same apartment, or at least the outside is, that I saw on Dallas. I recognized it immediately. It's on Dallas. I looked up the episode, season 2, episode 20. It's where, Pam was working at the store and all those models came in. Well, one of the models used to be a call girl, and JR has her almost arrested outside of her apartment. I remember that apartment building very clearly. And I feel like Sue Ellen went to it one time to adopt a baby too. Anyway, Gary and Abby are using it to fornicate, to sneak around. They're having themselves a real good time. So I guess after round 1 or 2, Abby says, we really got to get back to work. No breakfast meeting lasts this long. So as they're putting on clothes and Abby is making up the bed while Gary slowly gets dressed, she just wants to check in on him. Hey, how are you doing with this? Is this bothering you in any sort of way? Sneaking around your wife's back, lying to her face? Gary's like, no. As a matter of fact, I lay in bed after the first night waiting to feel guilty, but I didn't feel a damn thing. Nothing but elation. Can you? I can't stand Gary. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. I don't give a damn. I can't stand him. He feels just fine about it. Perfectly cool. So I was like, okay, great. Let's keep it up. So let's go back to Joe. Joe is patiently waiting in Karen's office when Karen shows up to work. Karen's like, what are you doing? Is your car not ready? He's like, no, it's not ready. She goes, well, did they give you a rental or something? They give you a courtesy car? Yeah, they gave me a courtesy car. Well, what the heck are you still doing here? Waiting on Abby. I'm going to ask Abby to go to my dinner on Friday. Karen rolls her eyes. She's like, ugh, are you serious? Well, right about this time, in floats Gary and Abby. And when I say there is no disguise, there is no pantomime of platonic friendship here at all. It is quite obvious to anyone who even looks over a little bit. Karen's looking out of her glass window of her office. She's like, oh my God, I could just choke Gary. I just want to shake him sometimes. Tell him to snap out of it. Joe's like, man, you are so suspicious, Karen. I bet you nothing is happening. She goes, I know something's happening. I can't prove it, but I know something's happening. So all of their offices are all against one wall. Just glass, generic glass window, door, glass window, door, glass window, door. Joe goes out. He sees Abby and he's like, Abby, I've been waiting all morning for you. I'm desperate. Would you please go to my staff dinner with me on Friday night? And she goes, oh my God, Joe, I've been waiting for you to ask me out. Only now I can't do it because I have a business meeting on Friday. Is as soon as she says that, Gary's big goofy ass comes bursting out of his door. Hey, Abby, about Friday night. And he looks, oh my God, I don't want to go. He's making those faces. Oh, just totally, bruh. She's like, yes, Gary, it's all set up for Friday night at 8 o'clock. The meeting with blah, 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 blah. Fake buyers. If Joe thinks anything is weird, he doesn't light on. He's like, okay, cool. Well, doesn't hurt to ask. See you later, Abby. Bye, Gary. Bye. And then they look at each other like, whoa. So Joe goes about his day, teaches, inspires, does whatever he does, ducks and dodge his boss. And he comes home that night a little bit early so that he can go over and talk to Ginger. Ginger being a budding pop star and Kenny being this flashy producer now, their schedules aren't always aligned. She wants to go out this weekend. He's like, I'd love to, babe, but I can't. Right about this time, Joe knocks on the door and, hey, Ginger, hey, Kenny. Is your airhead friend still available? I mean, I just kind of need somebody at this point. And she goes, wouldn't you know it? Airheads are very booked and busy. She's already got a date for Friday. She can't do it. And he's like, dang. So Kenny's like, well, what are y'all talking about? Joe explains the situation. I got this woman at my job who's all over me. Lorraine can't make it in. I asked someone else, I just need a date for Friday so that this woman will leave me alone. Well, Kenny's like, well, take Ginger. She was just saying that she needed to get out of the house. She kind of wanted to go out anyway, and I have to work, so it'd be perfectly fine. And Joe's like, are you sure? I don't want to, like, it's a married woman, is what he's thinking. But this is a clearly platonic relationship. Kenny's like, listen, we're a modern 80s couple. At first, I thought he was saying we do our own thing, as in we're swingers, which they've never confirmed or denied. But I think he was really saying sometimes our schedules don't align. I'm not going to keep her home if she don't want to be like, go, yeah, y'all go to this little dinner. It'll be fine. Okay, cool. Pick me up at 6, pick you up at 6 on Friday. So Joe's excited. That's really the only reason he come back to the cul-de-sac. So he heads back to Knott's Landing Motor to see if his car is ready. One of his problems is solved. Let's see if the other one is too. So Joe walks into the dealership, and by this time it is dark. It's already sort of closed, or it's closing. And the glass offices we talked about earlier are illuminated. And the first thing Joe sees is Abby and Gary. She's practically on Gary's lap, arms around him. They're feeling all over each other in a very warm embrace. There is no subtlety here at all. He just keeps walking. If he feels anything, you'd never know it. Joe goes into the shop to look for his car, but around this time, the intercom is calling Gary to go to the shop to basically take care of this older customer who's irritated that his part's on in. It's worth mentioning that the very handsome black mechanic and this little old man are hilarious in their 10 seconds on screen. Because the man's car is basically a hoopty. The mechanic is like, there's damn near lemons popping all the way out of this. The man's like, man, how did my parts just get up and walk away? What are you talking about? So when Gary leans up under the hood, Joe follows him. He's leaning up under the hood, and Joe says, man, I didn't know. Do you do this part too? You come in and repair stuff? Gary's like, no, I just got to make it look like I'm doing something. People like to see the boss like getting his hands dirty. Joe gets it. He's like, oh, great bluff. Gary says, what do you mean? And then they have this whole conversation about gambling. Joe says he wishes he could quit. And he's like, Gary, you used to gamble too, didn't you? Gary said, yeah, I did. But, the way I gambled was so rough. If you gamble as bad as I did, somebody will make you quit eventually. Joe breaks it down like this. He's like, God, I say I want to quit, but I really don't. I love the excitement. That's what you need. You need the excitement in life. And gamblers like us will keep raising the stakes so that the excitement is stronger and stronger. They're basically addicted to that rush. It only works if what you're risking losing is important. That you only do it when things are really, really valuable. Otherwise, the game isn't any fun anymore. Now, by this time, Gary is picking up what Joe was putting down. So Joe continues, you know what else they say? Shrinks say that deep down, the real gamblers want to lose. And he goes, isn't that crazy? That the gambler wants to lose. And you know what? In the end, he does. Can you believe that, Gary? He loses eventually because he really wants to. Gary's like, dude, if you got something to say, just say it. And Joe's like, I already did. By this time, the mechanic comes over and says, hey, Joe, your car's probably ready. Joe walks off real cool, like, all right, Joe, drop them gems. You're probably wondering where Valene is in all this. Well, Valene is at home, keeping herself busy, walking on eggshells. At the top of the show, we see her outside vigorously scrubbing her living room window. When Lily Mae comes outside, she's like, God dang, y'all don't eat breakfast? What does a girl got to do to get some vittles around here? Y'all on a fast or something? What's going on? Valene says, well, Gary's at a meeting this morning, and I wasn't hungry, so I just had a little juice. Lily Mae, ever the ear hustler, ever the nosy Nelly, is like, wow, didn't he have a dinner meeting last night? Yes, Mama. We had one this morning, breakfast and dinner meeting. They sure have a lot of meetings. It's a wonder they're not putting on weight. Basically saying, Valene, you see this like I see this. Valene's like, Mama, whatever goes on between me and Gary is between me and Gary. I have to be very careful right now. Gary's not happy about this book. I'm not trying to upset him. I'm trying to support him in his business. I have to let him do his business. Lily Mae's like, girl, please get your gullible country butt out of the clouds. Do you not see what is in front of you? They're just working, mama. Well, luckily, this interaction with Joe has planted a seed in Gary's head. So the next morning, he eats breakfast at home. He makes an effort to eat breakfast, which is a grapefruit and coffee. And I'm like, oh my God, all the acid. My heartburn could never. Also, that's a weak breakfast, but I totally remember that being a thing, like with cottage cheese. Ugh. Valene surprises Gary with a year's subscription to Fortune magazine. She even wraps it all nice like. When he opens it, he's like, well, what is this? And she explains, well, if you're going to be the number one businessman in the world, you need to know what's going on in the world of business. He's touched. Like, dang, Valene, what would I do without you? Because you ain't got to worry about that, Gary. You don't have to worry about not having me. Well, I guess he was still hungry after breakfast because he and Abby need to have another meeting in this apartment. One of the things I didn't catch the first time that I caught the second time is that Abby, besides having like this killer sweater on, I love it so much. It's kind of 40s. She she's cutting flowers. She's sort of setting up shop. She is playing house. It's a peek inside of her mind a little bit. This to her is a very special time. This is a very real thing. And it's not just a roll in the hay. She's taking time to set up the atmosphere. She's cutting fresh flowers. Like that means something. It's almost like a honey, I'm home moment when Gary walks in. Only he's all doom and gloom and whatnot. He's not ready to disrobe and roll in the hay. She greets him as she normally does, and that's when he tells her that this has to stop. She's like, well, what do you mean? I got to figure out where my head is. I got to clear my head. I don't know why I'm doing this. She's like, I'm kind of getting whiplash here. Yesterday you were perfectly cool, but today is different. He even like hesitates to kiss her. Like you can tell it's really, really on his mind. Well, after he speaks his piece, Abby's like, okay, if that's what you want, fine. She gives him that $1,000,000 smile. He apologizes and he leaves. She's smiling until he leaves. Then you see the facades just start to crumble. Gary's whole reasoning was that he's like, I know it's bad between me and Val, and she thinks a lot of it is the book, and then maybe it's only a little bit, but I got to figure out why I don't feel bad about this. Why I know this is wrong. I can't keep doing this. So, like I said, he leaves, and she's all smiling, like, okay, cool. But when he leaves, her face drops. Shout out to Jupiter for letting me know one of these things. I had mentioned one time that Abby's character, she always seems so in control. Like you never see her break down. She never seems nervous, anxious, or even angry. Not really. I think this is the first time I've ever seen any emotion from her. And from what I understand is that Donna Mills made a decision early on that her character would never show any emotion in front of anyone else. And she does a damn good job. But to see her sort of crumble, I'm not saying it was sad, but it was just like, wow, she really, really cares about this. She really, really thought this was going to be something spectacular. So that night, Joe's goes home. Like I said, the walls in Knott's Landing are quite thin because Abby hears his car door shut. She hollers at him. He walks over and she says, I'm free Friday. That meeting was canceled. She's none the wiser that Joe has seen her and Gary wrapped in a warm embrace. Joe's like, oh, I'm so sorry, girl. I got somebody to go. Ginger's going to go with me. Abby's like, really? A married woman? Joe's like, yeah, I know. Right under everyone's nose. It's tacky. Well, by this time, Abby has noticed that Gary is standing in his living room window watching her, so she's all touchy-feely on Joe. Joe gently grabs his tie back, goes on about his way. Gary basically spends most of the night staring out of the window. Even Val comes downstairs to be like, hey, are you coming to bed? He says no. He kind of sort of snaps at her because she can't understand what he's doing, just staring out of the window. She thinks something happened at work. She doesn't realize that he's staring over at Abby's house. I guess she thinks he's just kind of staring out the window. He snips at her. She heads upstairs. I wanted to slap him when he snapped at her, but I kind of understand. She's asking a lot of questions. This isn't the only time we see Gary standing in front of a window. As a matter of fact, for the rest of the episode, this fool is staring out the window. He's in Karen's office, staring out her window, watching Abby talk to this guy with the microphone. It is very clear that it's a reporter. There's nothing romantic involved. But then he runs up on her right after the guy walks away and he's like, okay, who's that? She's like, oh, it's so and so from the newspaper. They're curious about the methanol. They think it's kind of cool. We're going up against the big guys. Well, do you have to set a date with him to get the article? And she's like, no, he's going to call me and let me see it as normal. She doesn't get offended, but I got offended for her. Mistress or not, what you're not going to do, Gary, because you just as hoish as she is, what you're not going to do is use that against her. He is very well versed in how Abby gets down. He's seen it firsthand. He knows the whole thing with Richard. He saw how things went down with the senator. You know how she operates. So don't try to blow that in her face as if she owes you or anyone else an explanation for that. It's the audacity for me. She blows him off, and then he goes, well, what about Joe? Did Joe need to talk to you two about an article? She's like, first and foremost, mind your business. Second, all whatever I do with me and mine is none of your business. You have forfeited the right to ask me anything about my personal life anymore. Turns on her heels and walks away. I kind of like that. Somebody needs to put him in his place regularly. I like that she does that. Doesn't really matter though, because she's like an earworm. It's like a song that won't stop playing in your mind over and over and over again. This fool is distracted. He is consumed. He is infatuated either with her or the thought of her going somewhere else. It is very difficult for me to tell. I know time will tell. But the rest of the episode, he's just sort of waiting to catch a glimpse of her. That night, Val is sitting on the floor at the living room coffee table, poring over books. She better than me. I'm like, I need a full seat. She's also wearing that sailor dress that was so popular. I remember my 6th grade teacher. It was completely out of style by then, but she used to wear those. She still had the teased hair. We were well past that. But she loved that sort of sailor dress with the sort of flap in the back. I promise you your mama had one. Your Gen X or millennial, promise you she had one. So they're sitting in the living room. Val is poring over books. Gary's just sort of staring out the window for a long time. Then he's like, hey, let's go for a ride. Then he decides he doesn't want to go for a ride. He just sits there stewing. Valene's not really clocking that because she's studying. When she's done, she decides she's going to get up. She's like, oh, okay, that's it for me. I'm about to go to bed. Well, right about that time, these paper thin walls allow Gary to hear a car door slam. And he understands immediately that it's at Abby's house, even if it's not Abby. Do you know that let me take a sip. This man's got my nerves bad. Gary Ewing leaps up from his couch, runs to the door like the house is on fire, yells back at Valene, oh, I forgot to tell her something this morning at work. He runs out of his door, through his gate, across the street, to Abby's front door where he bursts in, demanding to know, where is he? Where is he? Gabby said, oh, you want to know where he is? He's in the kitchen. Well, he turns out to be a little old lady who's watching Olivia and Brian. They clearly went to Mickey Mouse. They clearly went to Disneyland, only I guess you couldn't say Disneyland on TV, but they have these mouse-shaped balloons that are drawn on. And Abby introduces, hey, this is Mrs. So-and-so. This is my neighbor, Gary Ewing. He gets really worried about the kids when they're out past dark. Mrs. So-and-so says, oh, I'm so sorry. We was having such a good old time. Things ran a little late. Good to meet you, Mr. Ewing. She's out the door on her way. Abby sends the children upstairs to bed, and Gary's left looking like a fool staring at Abby. He looks real good and dumb. I can't stress that enough. Once they're alone, Gary tells her he can't stand the thought of her with another man. She's like, I wasn't with another man. That's an old lady. He goes, but you're going to be at some point. She's like, you damn right. You see this? You see it? You don't get to have a say in that. And he's like, okay, I understand, but what do I need to do? What do I need to do? She goes, this is what you can't do. You can't come sauntering in my house telling me how you feel this and that like I'm supposed to be under control. That's not good enough for me. I'm tired of being the side chick. I want you and me. I thought you wanted the same thing. I want us together, unfettered. And he's like, I can't do that. Can't. She's like, cool. She opens her door and ushers him out. Where he has to go out Abby's door, across the street, through his gate, through his front door, with his heart heavy and his head down. Body language never lies. And you know what the most important part of this scene is? Valene the Ewing watched this entire thing from that glass window she spent scrubbing. She saw him burst into the house. I'm sure she could hear him. If you could hear the car door, you could hear him hooting and hollering across the street. It's a mess. It's a total mess, but it's good because now she has to act on this. I'm only going to briefly talk about Ginger and Joe for two reasons. One, because it was cute enough and it explores a relationship that can be platonic. And number two, we need to discuss her outfit real quick. So Ginger attends the staff dinner with Joe and they have a good time. She was charming. He's charming. It was wonderful. She confesses as they get closer to the house. She's like, I just don't really want this to end. I feel like a teenager on my first date. And they have a moment. He wants to kiss her. She admits that she wants to kiss him. And she even says, I wish you would kiss me. He picks up her hand. He kisses it. And he's like, I know this is not what you mean, but we're also not teenagers on a first date. You are a very married woman, and I don't get in the habit of kissing other men's wives. She's like, I know. I'm glad that scene happened because it shows you don't have to take it to the next level. She just wanted to get out of the house and have a good time. Also, she and her husband are in a good place. So when they went inside, I'm sure they had a good time. But she's wearing that 1970s sort of bridal. No. It's not 1970s. It's 1870s. She could easily be on the set of Tombstone as a bride getting married just as easily as she shows up on this show on this day. I didn't realize that the prairie look was that popular. It is lace, it is sepia, it is a whole lot going on. It don't look great. Well, the next morning, it would appear that our good sister, the Vidalia Onion Queen, has either been up all night pondering or she woke up hella early to go ahead and build up the strength to do what she needs to do. Now, this is the day that Richard is to return. So Laura has already stopped by the night previous. Valene and Lily Mae have been tasked with going to get Jason. They don't want Laura dropping him off, I suppose. Okay? Keep that in mind. Things are going on this day. A lot of movement. Valene goes into the bedroom. Gary is fast asleep. Apparently he had a rough night. Valene sits down on the side of the bed where Gary is. She says, Gary, are you and Abby having an affair? Now he sleeps, so he wakes up. He's like, what? Are you and Abby having an affair? I want you to tell me right now. Well, he starts getting pissed. Can't believe you're bringing this up. Blah, blah, blah. This mofo, once again, leaps up out of bed in his baby blue shorts, storms to the bathroom, and slams the door. Valene is beating on the bathroom door. Gary, let me in. You better tell me, Gary. I just can't believe what a coward. What a coward. He hadn't tried to hide this at all. And he's been so consumed, he don't even realize that Val has seen the whole thing. That's the thing. He doesn't realize that people have seen him with this woman. It is quite obvious to anybody who even glances their way. Never mind that. Valene needs answers and she ain't stopping until she gets them. So she goes downstairs, out her front door, out her gate, across the street, to Abby's front door, where she too burst in to Abby's house. Now Abby is standing at the foot of the steps like, oh, hey, Val. Valene immediately says, to hell with the salutations. Abby, are you and my husband having an affair? Abby gives her that look. Oh, my, Valene. My. You've got that writer's imagination, don't you? All these wild things in your head? Valene says, that didn't answer my question, Abby. So Abby immediately starts playing the semi sort of victim. Why is it wicked Abby? It's always me ruining something. But the truth is, maybe he does need someone a little more exciting like me. He didn't need a mother. He didn't need somebody who only sees his flaws. He needs somebody who sees his strengths as well. Valene says, I see that man the way I've always seen him since I was 15 years old. Don't talk to me about his strengths and weaknesses. Answer my question, Abby. Are you and my husband having an affair? She says, I'm not saying we are. I'm not saying we're not. But I am saying that I can have him any time I want. Earlier that day, Karen had stopped by to ask Abby to go to Richard's house and water plants and stuff. But she's like, oh, I'm so busy. Karen's like, you need to do it. Just everybody else has a task except you. Go do it. Abby says, well, what about Gary? Gary's apparently had a hard night. Now, this is Karen letting her know that she knows what's up. Apparently, Gary had a really rough night last night. He's sound asleep. Abby says no, that she can't help one more time. And Karen says, oh, that's right. You only wreck homes, you don't help fix them. So it's funny that this is in the back of her head and she's still unfazed. So back to Valene and she. Mind you, all this is happening while Valene is dressed in a full on prairie garb, like weird looking skirt with an underskirt, cowboy boots, long sleeve 18th century button shirt with the big poofy sleeves and then it's tight down the rest. After Abby says I can have him anytime I want, Val's kind of like, oh my God, oh my God. She tries to turn on her heels and walk out. Abby says, Abby can't just let it go. She runs up behind her like, okay, Valene, does that give you your answer? Do you understand? Valene understands, all right, it's time to bring that Tennessee thunder. So she reaches back to Memphis, comes all the way across the Great Plains, over the Rocky Mountains, down across Abby's face. So satisfying. Abby's hair goes flying back. She deserved that. She really, really did. Because at the end of the day, what has Valene ever done to her? Ever. It's one thing to steal the man, but what you're not going to do is talk to me like I'm the problem. We don't see Val anymore this episode, but we do see Gary standing in front of yet another window, watching Abby's house like a hawk. Now, Abby knows he's at home. I don't know if she knew he was watching, but maybe she had a hunch. Maybe she just knows the power she has over him. So she puts on her shortest shorts. You can see a little booty cheek at some point in this white blouse. It is cute. I'm not even going to hate. With her heels, she saunters out her front door, down the sidewalk, up Richard's walkway, and into his house. Gary Ewing is watching like a hawk from the window. He puts on an extra medium shirt, goes downstairs, out his door, out his gate, across the street, into Richard's house, where he and Abby take one long, lingering lover's look at each other, and it's on and popping again. End scene. Excellent episode. I was frozen in place the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is really going down. So they're both aware that Val's aware at this point. I just don't even know where you go from here. I don't even see how you could pretend, if you're Valene, that nothing is wrong. I don't know how she's going to move through this. At the top of this episode, I shared the story of the cat and mouse partnership. The comparison came because even as a kid, I remember listening to this story and reading it on my own and thinking, there's no way the mouse didn't know that eventually this was going to happen. I suppose, though, hope is kind of funny that way. When I read that as a kid, I kind of expected the cat to pounce on her at some other point or maybe trick her into some sort of trap. Or I thought maybe the mouse would catch the cat eating other mice, something like that. But the truth is, nothing is as blinding as hope. It'd be real easy to paint Abby as a cat in this scenario, being deceitful, sort of sneaky, sort of plotting all this time. But the truth is, she never pretended to be anything else. Abby has always been Abby. Or is Gary the cat, content to tell the mouse about all these baptisms that he needs to go to because he's important and special and, oh, you're crazy. You just have these little mouse fantasies because you're always in the house. Never fully taking her seriously, eating her hope whole, bit by bit, bite by bite until it was all gone. She had no choice but to accept it at the last minute. It'd be real easy to say that. And it's kind of hard to decide who was a bigger villain. But when it comes to Valene, the Vidalia Onion Queen Ewing, nobody, and I do mean nobody, is a bigger villain to Valene Ewing than Valene Ewing. In my opinion, Val was every character in that story, the cat and mouse partnership. Hear me out, hear me out. I mean, obviously she's a mouse. She's at home, naive, sort of believing that all this is true. Even though she has a clue, she's clever enough to decide that they need to store something away for them. And I feel like the pot of fat would symbolize in this situation, like her hope, her dreams, what she really thinks this relationship can and will be. Long as I play the part and don't upset him, I can have this. Let me just let the cat do what he needs to do. Only the cat is the part of her that knows, that is sort of fighting for her to do something. You had to lie to yourself in order to believe that nothing was going on. Lie to yourself over and over. Oh, it's just, he has to have this celebration. He has to be at the baptism, or he has to have these meetings. He has to work. He has to do these things. But at the same time, by believing and feeding into that lie, you were eating away at your own dream. She consumed her own dream. I know it's a little out there, but just think about it. This isn't a love triangle. This is a mirror. This is a mirror of what happens when you don't accept the things that are right in front of you. When you don't challenge the thing that is right in front of you. You knew what this was a long time ago. She saw this coming many, many moons ago. It's one thing for Gary to lie to you. It's another to lie to yourself. I saw something this week where it said resentment. It's never really about the person you're resentful towards. It's you being upset with yourself for not defending yourself, for not believing yourself when you have the opportunity to. Great episode. Gary is forever back on my you know what list. I can't stand him, but I also can't deny the chemistry. When I tell you, I cannot wait to watch the finale. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The writers did their big ones with this one, and you're going to have to join me next time to see what happens. All right, guys, that's it. That's all for this episode of Soap Lore. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. In the meantime, in between time, go read some old fables. There's a lot of wisdom locked inside of those, and let me know what you think. You can always reach out to me at soaplorepodcast@gmail.com. Send me a nice little email. Let me know what you think. That's soaplorepodcast@gmail.com. Or you can send me a text in the show notes on your mobile device. Stay hydrated, stay moisturized, mind your own business, and keep all of your drama on TV.